Hello and welcome to another episode of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. My name is Tom. I'm very excited you're all joining us. Very excited to be joined by my friends Aaron Blackerby. Aaron, how you doing?
Oof. Interesting question to ask right now, but overall doing well. Tom, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I just finished pulling like an 80-hour week to grand open the new Lazy Days on Speedway. Very excited about that. We had like 40 different musicians come through and play sets, mostly like quiet and coffee shop appropriate sets. One band though that I particularly want to shout out, who didn't do that, who did the opposite of that, was Port of Monks. And Sweet Ray, the bassist and lead singer, before the show, he was, we were talking and he was like, "What's your last name?" And I was like, "Petrini." He was like, "From the internet." And I was like, "Yes, dude, that is where I'm from."
Oh,
And
no.
really cool, dude. They rocked the hell out of it. It was a ton of fun. Like, subscribe, tell your friends and enemies. Zach, I you did a crazy tease on this. I asked you before the show, like, "Hey, before the show, how did your triathlon go?" And you were like, "I'm gonna save it for the show. I want your real reaction." And
See?
gave away nothing about what happened during
Well,
this swim, bike, run thing that you did. So first of all, what are the distances, and then how to go?
400-meter swim, 15-mile bike ride, and a 2-mile run.
Oh, that's
So
baby stuff, bro.
yeah, it was fun.
light work.
Light work. Yeah.
First off,
How'd
I
it
do want to
go?
give a shout out to my other favorite team, Chelsea FC, for making Champions League. That was the start of my weekend. Big deal for me. My second favorite team, I love them not as much as the Spurs, but I do love them. My side bitch. No one knows that. Excuse my language. So the
Feels like you're
triathlon.
deflecting. It feels like you're distracted.
No, the triathlon. So it was
what
great.
happened?
The swim, I will. The swim, of course, they make you jump in Town Lake, which, if anyone knows in Austin, you really don't want to swim in that water. So it's very motivating to go quick. But me, not the best swimmer, I'm backstroking the whole thing. Come around the last turn, I'm like, I'm doing great. This is awesome. Until I get caught up in a bunch of moss, and I feel like I'm just getting, yeah, and like everyone was getting caught up in it. So I had to go parallel to where I was supposed to go, then cut. So I probably swam like 450 meters instead
dude,
of 400 meters.
that's how people die, is they get caught
No,
up in
dead
that
ass. Like
moss.
I was sitting here like this is terrible. It was like someone was weighing me down. And I'm already terrible at swimming. So get on the bike. I'm flying. I'm going 18 miles an hour average, and then it starts raining before the last turn of the actual bike ride. So I'm geeked up. I'm ready to get on the run. I'm ready to go race. Fall right in front of all the baddies, all the parents, everybody. Ate shit. I can't show you the cherry on my hip, on my leg, on my back. I got fucked up. Everyone's like, "You good?" They didn't have a chance to even look
Those
at me. I
are
was gone.
those pics are for Zach's OnlyFans accounts. So,
But but like any strong-willed, prideful person, I wasn't gonna let me deter me. And I got third place in
Hey,
my age
okay.
group, the 30s. So pretty big deal. On the podium, they gave me a bronze medal. I felt kind of cool.
Moss and rain be damned.
did
That's
you
great,
Yes,
buddy.
did
love
you
I'm
it.
do
proud
a
of you.
three celebration like the Mellow or like the
You
Michaela
know,
Wemby did like the finger guns?
they were like, "You got to get off the stage. Once you get up, you're off." So I felt like I didn't have enough. Like I was doing a lot of one celebrations before, so I wasn't used to the three celebrations. So I don't know. I was preparing for the one. I got the three. Not mad about it though. Sore as shit.
I
yeah.
bet that hurt like hell, man.
What
Yeah.
can you do?
So, it
The
just
pride
get up
hurt
and run
more
2
than
miles, I guess.
the actual fall, so it's all good.
Right. But like, you're a pretty stubborn dude.
I am.
I had no doubt that that story would end with you at the very least finishing the race and being like, I was pretty sure though you were gonna be like, "Yeah, my knee's the side of a watermelon right now. I
Nope.
can't walk."
Oh,
No,
oh,
I'm good. I ran that shit.
Zach's a finisher.
Easy now. See, this is where
Pause.
this is. Get out of here. Nah, get out of here.
Well, we do have to talk about some finishers, right? The Spurs will have a variety of options on what to do with the second pick in the draft. Might uh, you know, select a fantastic finisher and creator in Dylan Harper. That seems to be the consensus, uh, plan A for the Spurs. But there's a bunch of different things that they could do, and like I said, we grand opened Lazy Days on Friday. On Wednesday, we learned that the Texas House voted to make all THC in the state illegal. uh, you know, but I was watching a lot of like the Texas House, right? And it's funny, man. Dude, there's a clip where the dude with the big ass hammer, like it went flying, and it was like this always happens to me in Super Smash Bros. Like when I need the hammer the most. Um, but like really funny what they're doing over there at the state capitol, just in general. And I thought it would be good for us to do like a much more important and functional version of that and have like the Silver and Black Coffee Hour first legislative session for off-season Spurs business.
Let the great debate begin.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, for the sake of argument, which is, it seems like all we do.
This
Like I
is
said,
this is a plain devil's advocate show.
Let
I'm not
me
even
let me
sure-
out.
Yeah.
Let me loose. I
I'm
want
not
to
even-
debate.
Yeah, like we're gonna do this like gentlemen with revolvers in
like
our
I
back
said, man,
pocket.
it's been 80 hours of work for me this week. I haven't had any time to scroll and argue on the internet. It's been
Lucky
eating at me.
you.
I'm all pent up. So we're gonna get out and
So hold on,
you know,
Tom.
much
Would you say that
Yeah, yeah.
you're bricked up for debate?
Oh
No, I wouldn't say that at all, actually.
Mm.
Like, why would I say? But
Hmm.
I would say that
Glasses
I'm
for a
actually
debate.
I'm a really good debater. Like I was on a debate team in high school.
Okay.
Uh, little public forum. I didn't go solo. I was more Lincoln. That's Lincoln Douglas. I like teammates. I'm a dish the rock kind of guy.
Fair. Fair.
Um,
You're solo on this one, big
but yeah,
dog. Better lock in.
I'm gonna put you guys under cross X. I'm gonna question your stuff. We're gonna see what the best course of action here is, and here's how it's gonna work, basically. Like the real legislators, we're gonna start with like random little news and notes and seemingly inconsequential things, but
Yes.
like there is a little bit of stuff. Just make sure everybody's flowing into it, and then we get to the nitty gritty, right? We're gonna start with the top priorities. Each of us is gonna introduce
It's
a bill on what to do with the second pick, and then what to do with the 14th pick.
it's like working out. We got to warm up a little bit. We got to warm up our vocal cords. Got to get
Some of it is good
loose.
context
And
for the
then
bills that may be passed.
yeah, something like that. So
And here's how it's gonna work. We're each gonna argue for our own positions, but minds can be changed. Amendments can be made. Deals can be struck. Backward, dirty
Ooh.
deals, perhaps even. Maybe threats.
If you see me on the
Maybe
phone, who am I
bribes.
calling?
let's not do threats. We want to be gentlemen about
Okay.
this. We want to be,
Okay. Yeah,
to
yeah.
quote
Sure.
Mahatma Gandhi, be the example of the change you want to be in the world. I don't actually know if that's a preferred, like an actual quote, but or I'm just paraphrasing it. But either way,
Sounds
it's
good,
great
though.
advice. It's great advice.
Sounds
Yeah,
really
no.
good.
We like being nice to each other. It's so nice to be nice. But we are gonna get after it. We are gonna argue a little bit. For the sake of
Ooh.
argument. I think that's a good
Ooh.
sports debate show. Here's how the rules are gonna work. If any of these bills on what to do with the second pick or the 14th pick are voted to pass by a majority, 2/3 majority of this council present, then those bills will be passed
Sent to
on
the Spurs.
to right to
Be
the
done.
Spurs. Pop and Brian Wright front office, and then they can sign it into law. Right? They can veto it. They're the ones that hold the power here. But that's just we're gonna do the work for them, right?
Look, they clearly they need our help with this. Obviously, there's so many
Right.
decisions to be made. So, like,
They've never done this before.
yeah, like I have another job. This is my side hustle, but I clearly, like I think about this a lot, and I know that they're paid well for this sort of thing.
Right.
But like, have they heard my opinion on it yet?
Right.
No, they
Right.
haven't heard yours, Tom. They haven't
No.
heard yours, Zach. So like, we want to
Right.
just like,
We're stakeholders too.
yeah, exactly. I've given a lot of money to this team, damn it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a season
And
ticket
also,
holder. Let me make a choice.
Yeah.
Let me go make the
And
pick.
anybody who disagrees with what we want is a bad person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of ad hominem attacks in this.
This might be an off the rails episode. It was supposed to be clean, but I think this is going to be.
Well, no, it's
Well,
off season programming, baby. This is not about, we don't have like a lot of structure, so.
And if you want to see off the rails, my God, check in on what our legislators are doing, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So with that,
Let's get
started. Yeah. Do you have any
I'll start.
Oh yeah. Zach,
I'll
what you
start.
got?
Guys, we have to look into a 6'6" ball handler. That's it. So I'm going to start there. That's it. 6'6" ball handler. And we're just going to say, that's it.
Zach,
my
we got to
debate.
start with news and notes.
That's
You
the
gotta start
He's
with news and
6'6".
notes, Zach.
He's
You're
He's
overruled.
6'6".
Bang,
He's 6'6",
bang,
and he's a
bang,
ball
gavel.
handler. That's my note. What?
Zach, we're
Bang gavel.
Zach. Bang bang. News and notes time, dog.
Yeah. Point of order. You're out of
No,
order.
See, yeah,
You're
I
out of
told you
line,
this is
you're
going to
out
go
of
off the
pocket.
rails. We're not even a minute in. I'm already fucking things up. Sorry, boys.
To be fair,
Everyone-
we did just say off the rails, and then you went off the rails. So by that logic, I actually win you the argument. But now I'm going to transition into another news and notes. Some of our beloved Spurs players are in España right now, training with one another. On Stefan Castle's TikTok, he and Jeremy Sohan look to be doing the Karate Kid crane pose on a boat. Very cool. Devin Vassell working at the NBA Players Association court that's based in Spain. This is also where Mamu spent a number of his time last offseason as well. Good to see there's a crew of dudes working together. Jeremy Sohan spent a good portion of his time across the pond as well. Fellas, what do y'all think about some of those Jeremy Sohan videos so far?
Ooh, I gotta say, man. I mean, I understand not changing shot form during a season. It looks like they're already sort of tearing down and rebuilding, and it looks like that two-factor authentication is gone. It looks faster. It looks smoother. It looks nice off the bounce. His jump shot I'm talking about. I don't know if I quite. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you're good.
But he looks sharp, and if that's the big question with his game, and if that comes along, I'm excited to see it. One other thing I'm excited to see, looking forward to seeing, maybe we'll see, while they are in Spain, I don't know if they're still over there, but they got the Formula One Spanish Grand Prix happening, and I know that Jeremy is a fan, so we'll see if they get some track time.
I got some more news and notes for y'all.
Sure.
Shams said the Spurs are expecting Wembanyama to be fully ready to go for training camp. Newsflash, buddy. Silver and Black Coffee Hour had that final day of the season. You could have just retweeted me, dog.
They told everybody. It's not
like they literally said it. Like we were in there. It was like with a group of people.
It is strange to see the news cycle repurpose news that is over a month old at this point. But hey, Shams has got to go on Pat McAfee to talk about something. I hope to see Shams in Vegas next month during Summer League.
Anybody who is in this space, like to get to that level of this profession is like a 20-hour a day commitment. And but like, yeah, no, I mean the line from the team the whole time has been, we are confident that Victor will be all right, and that he will, more than that, he will be ready for training camp.
And
Um,
and speaking of Wemby, he's been dropping comments left and right on Instagram. Shows that he's still got bars during this time. So shout out to that. Last news and note that I do want to show though. There's a great video on YouTube called From the Guard Whisperer. It's about 26 minutes of Stefan Castle going through drills. And I got to tell y'all, it's boring. It goes to show that we see a lot of Instagram videos of a shirtless Ben Simmons. We'll probably see that in about 30 days. We'll be coming up on Kyle Kuzma, probably shirtless pic. Um, who else? There'll be something about Markel Fultz is ready for next season or something. Anyway,
Isaiah Thomas will tweet at every team that has anything that looks like a vacancy at the point guard position.
facts. And
That's rude.
yeah, but like during this, this era of social media, you only
low
see
blow.
the highlights. You only see like they're making it. Oh, look at him bump this guy off his spot and everything. This video, I think, is really great to just watch the drills that he's going through. And they're boring. And it's like dribble here, fade here. This is what you need to look at. And Stefan Castle was not even making 100% of the shots. He's trying. There's some things that they're doing with his form where he's balancing on one foot, catches the ball, puts it up. It's really fascinating video. I highly recommend everybody go watch it for our now current rookie of the year from this last season.
That's such hoop sicko shit right there. I love that you.
Did you watch it on
Or
2
playing
times or was
us
it
onto-
normal speed?
Normal speed, man. Normal speed.
Yeah, that's real sicko shit.
Yeah.
That's real sicko shit.
Yeah. I was like, oh, fascinating. Oh, look at the way he uses the backboard. Oh, I should try that. Okay. Yeah. Like,
No, but for kids learning the game, seriously, anybody learning the game, like watching highlights is great, but like I always, like Bobby Fischer teaches chess, Pistol Pete dribbling drills, like all of that stuff. Watching how they practice and drill is like really, really informative on how they become the players.
so, really cool video. I don't know. Throwing it out there for y'all who are just feverishly looking for more Spurs content out on the line. So, yeah. Are we ready to get into it though now?
I think so. I think all members are present, both physically and mentally. All good? Yeah. Bang bang. The legislature for Silver and Black Coffee Hour, first ever legislative session, is now in session. Who's gonna start us off with this bill, which reads, the Spurs should do the obvious thing and take consensus number 2 pick in this draft, Dylan Harper, with the second one. I see Zach. Zach, the member is recognized.
Can you
Make
hear
your
me?
case, Zach.
Can you hear me?
We got you. We
Okay.
got you loud and clear. The floor is yours.
My fellow congresswomen, congressmen, this is what we need to do, and it's very easy. A 6'6" point guard out of Rutgers. You like a guy who finishes at the rim? Well, we're talking about Steph Castle. Well, Steph Castle in college only finished at the mid-40s when he got to the lane. How about a guy who finishes 63% of the time when he gets to the lane? Does that sound good? Y'all think I could deal with that? What about a guy who averages 19 points a game, left-handed, silky smooth, scored over 30 points 3 times in his college career, over 20 points 14 times? This is not a slut. This is a hooper. This is someone that is the same size as Dwayne Wade coming in when Dwayne Wade was in college. Big guards, ball handlers, gets to the lane. 5.9 free throws a game last year. When he had 30, those 3 games, went to the line over 10 times those games. This guy, Dylan Harper, is the easy choice. I don't even know why we're debating, but we're going to have this debate because I'll hear my boys talk. But this is easy. This is so easy.
So, does the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
Uh, one of the main complaints, Zach, that I have seen, one of the main reasons that I have seen people use for not wanting to draft Dylan Harper is the fact that they have now invested in De'Aaron Fox. They have a rising rookie of the year in Stephon Castle. These are drive first point guards. And you know, is is this a positional or role logjam? Is this too much of a good thing?
There's no such thing as too many ball handlers. You can always have someone getting a rebound, pushing on the floor. Also, to counter that point, Dylan Harper shot 42% on catch and shoot threes last year, placed him 86th percentile in college basketball. So he does catch and shoot at a fairly decent rate. And I feel like that's something you could add on to.
Okay, that's good to know about the catch and shoot. I have seen some concerns about if he would be able to space the floor and play off the ball. Does the gentleman from Corpus have a question?
Yes. The politics of a number 2 pick strictly state that they're a starter. What does the politics do to this where we have extension ready De'Aaron Fox, who we just traded for, the number 4 pick of last year's draft, who was also rookie of the year, Devin Vassell. That is a lot of small in a starting area. And then if we're still bringing Harrison Barnes as the team is currently constructed as of today, along with Wembanyama, is that putting, one, too much pressure on Wemby on defense to make up for lack of size? And then two, how would the Spurs be able to navigate the politics of a number 2 pick either being one, someone's going to be on the bench. So who's going to be on the bench and how would the Spurs be able to navigate that?
Good thing is Spurs don't play politics like we're doing right now. We don't do that politics stuff down in San Antonio. We had Manu Ginobili come off the bench. I think Devin Vassell's come off the bench. Keldon Johnson's come off the bench. Yes, sir.
Don't we play politics like that at San Antonio?
In a
Should
way,
Chris Paul have
but
been the starter all season?
But that's a promise you make to a vet, not a rookie. That's someone who's earned their keep. I think that's a different conversation, and I agree with that. And I think it's a whole different conversation that needs to be had. But at the end of the day, a rookie is a rookie. You might get picked at 2, you might get picked at 32. You earn your spot, you earn your keep, and if you're better than someone in camp, then of course you deserve to play. I think Devin Vassell coming off the bench previously and playing well off the bench doesn't scare me. And look, if that's the way it's gonna have to go, or that's the way it's gonna have to go. If you got to come off the bench as a rookie and earn your keep, I don't see any issue. You can point to one of the best 6 men of all time and say he's done it here, and there's no issue with how he did it. He's also left-handed, also 6'6", also very silky finisher at the rim. So I mean, I'm not calling him Manu Ginobili, but it's like, hey, look, we had a lefty do this before, and he was really good at it.
So you're saying Devin Vassell would move to the bench?
It depends on how you what in this scenario. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of moving pieces that come with picking at 2. And I think the Spurs understand that as well. And I think when you get the second pick, and the second pick is obviously comes with a lot of talent. A lot of these guys that you're mentioning aren't second. Devin Vassell wasn't the second pick. And I think that in itself is your politics right there. Is like, this is the young guy. This is a guy that we're obviously like putting our future in. Devin already has his contract. And I think that's why it makes it easier for the Spurs to pivot in a Devin. You're more locked into the situation to like, hey, this is what we want you to do for the next 4 years, compared to like Dylan. This is what we want you to do for the next 12 years. Yes.
The politics of this are very interesting. But let's get down to basketball. Let's get to brass tacks. Uh, the Spurs, as currently constructed, um, they didn't really get to see too much of Fox plus Wemby plus everybody as this team was gelling, right before the calamitous end to that part of the season, right? Um, how does bringing in a, teenager rookie with no NBA experience, um, obviously very talented, but he's going to be relied upon to be part leader of a team that intends to contend. Do you believe that Dylan Harper is ready to next year be a regular contributor and starter level player on a team that has ambitions of playing a full playoff series?
Why not? I think it's always great to have talent around a young rookie to give him confidence and to show that he can grow. And the good thing with the second pick is there's maturity behind the talent. I read a quote that he could have given up on a season at Rutgers when it wasn't going the way it was supposed to be going. They were out of the tournament. They were looking like they had to win the Big Ten tournament to even make the NCAA tournament. So their regular season was awful. He could have given up, but he tried. They said he even went harder and was there for his team and was a team first guy. I think for me, and just the Spurs in general, these type of talented players don't come around a lot. You don't get a second round pick. They don't grow on trees. These are elite level players that you have the opportunity to get. I forget what the exact stat was, but there's a number that picks that were in the first 5 picks, majority get early, a lot of them get into the all-stars, and then once you get past that 5 to whatever level, then it starts to tinker off a lot. Like it drops downhill like crazy. So you're getting an elite talented player. The basketball and the X's and O's, you're gonna make it work. You're not putting pressure on them. I think the pressure is on Wemby. The pressure is on De'Aaron Fox. The pressure is on Steph Castle to do what he did last year. I think it's a very stress-free environment to say, hey, you get a rebound, you bring the ball up the court, initiate the offense. If not, we're gonna find De'Aaron. We're gonna work you in the flow. We're gonna get this ball movement. Like I think it's just very easy to navigate that into things.
I just have a few small these are things that uh I don't personally feel uber concerned about myself, but I have seen constituents, some of our voters in the Spurs fan base. Uh, for example, you brought up Rutgers and their struggles. They had not only Dylan Harper but Ace Bailey, who's projected as the third pick by a lot of people in this draft. And they had those two guys, and they went 15 and 17. So how do you explain that one to people who are concerned about that?
College basketball is college basketball. I think you have two top talented players. How did the team play? How did what was the camaraderie? What was the bench like? What was the style of play? I mean, I think there's a lot that goes into a team that got put together last year compared to like, hey, knowing that this is his team for the future and this is where you're going to be set for a while and we're going to figure out the best way to put you in a position to win.
Fair enough.
Last point here, Zach. Dylan Harper is a very interesting family tree. Mainly who his dad is. NBA champion on two dynasties, really. Ron Harper with the Chicago Bulls and with the Los Angeles Lakers. Dylan Harper's dad, Ron Harper, NBA champion of the Chicago Bulls and Los Angeles Lakers, also likes to use his thumbs a lot on a certain social media app. And he keeps alluding to just seeing what happens on June 25th. Hey, I'm just tweeting through it, my guy. And it has my constituents feeling a little PTSD towards he who will not be named, Kawhi Leonard, and his uncle/agent, Dennis. Are we concerned at all about these familial ties and being a spokesperson for his son?
Look, I can't speak for a parent. If my son was the second round pick, second pick in the draft, and there was a lot of talk going on, I might be on Twitter just talking about it, just getting his name out there even more. You know, if I'm never, who am I to judge as a non-parent? Who am I to judge? Who am I to
Zach,
judge?
I can tell you, my constituents are judging, and it has them concerned.
Well, tell them,
Well,
tell them, tell them to
have some
tell them
reservations
to put
about
their
this.
talented son up against his talented son and see if it compares.
I do have some, reservations and questions about this, this bill to draft Dylan Harper, but I will say that the Ron Harper element and the tweets, because I've looked into this, I've heard the same thing from my constituents, Aaron, and when you actually read the tweet, the thing that's scary is that a relative of a guy is tweeting. Like that's what
Yes.
people are scared about.
Yes.
Like, there
Period.
is
Period.
the stuff that he is tweeting is mainly something that anybody who has been around the NBA knows, which is that stuff happens. You don't want to be all goo-goo for San Antonio, and then you get traded to wherever on draft night, and now it's egg on your
Washington
face and
or
all
something
his
like that.
storylines and drama, and he's just saying, "Hey, I know that everybody thinks that he's the second pick in this draft, and I know that the Spurs have the second pick in the draft, but everybody, let's just see what happens." So
It would probably help
while
his tweets if he had a voice behind it. Just flat communication like that just does not translate well.
right, and it's left open to interpretation. So
Yeah.
yeah. Do we have any further questions on the gentleman's bill?
No further questions at this time. I would like to transition to my proposal.
Move to table.
Move to table.
Okay, I see eyes. Okay, cool. And the gentleman from Corpus is recognized.
Thank you. My fellow gentlemen from the Northeast and the South Central Texas area, thank you for your time today, for taking this time to listen to me. And I have a question to begin my proposal for y'all. It's a very simple one. And I want to quote former New York Jets coach Herm Edwards. I'm doing a little cross sport here. Why do we play this game?
I believe the rest of this quote is to win
We
the game.
play to win the game. We play to win the game. My proposal is a way for us to play to win a lot of games. Trading the number 2 pick for one Giannis, the Greek freak, Antetokounmpo. Let me tell y'all about this real quick, y'all. Come sit down on my lap. It's story time with AB, okay? Giannis is a transformational player in this league. Giannis was just voted again 3rd in the league in overall MVP voting after Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. Giannis, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Giannis, NBA champion. Giannis, double-double machine. Let me also tell y'all something. You guys like defense? Does defense win championships? Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I agree with with Nico Harrison. Not really anything else after that. Well, let me tell you. We take 2 wingspans of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Victor Wembanyama. Do you guys know how long the width of a basketball court is? It's 50 feet. Giannis's wingspan is 73 inches. Wemby's is 8 feet. Imagine 2 of these amazing European stars able to cover the width of the court in less than 2 steps. just being on the court together. Imagine the offensive creation made in a 5-out offense with them. Imagine inverted pick and rolls, not just for Victor Wembanyama, but also for Giannis Antetokounmpo, with a speed demon of De'Aaron Fox complementing them on the outside. Imagine, fellas, being able to go positionless with bigs to where you can have Wemby playing the 4 or the 5. You can have Giannis playing the 4 or the 5. This is a Brian Wright dream actualized. And so my proposal is to send out the number 2, probably sending out another number 1, maybe another number 2 in the future, and another number 1 in the future. Probably giving up Devin Vassell, maybe another contract filler for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'll yield the floor after my initial argument.
The gentleman from San Antonio is recognized.
All great points, AB. I want to give you a great shout out for just an amazing fantasy story you just told. It's really captivated the minds and the hearts. But at the end of the day, we got to get to the nitty-gritty. And it's the numbers. The numbers don't add up. The money doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. What are you going to do about the money?
What am I going to do about the money? Brother, let me tell you, the
And
Spurs
to
are not
build
in Cap
If I
Hill.
may build on this, because I have some more specific questions on this.
What are you going to do about the money?
While the on-court fit is potentially catastrophic for everybody else, let's just look at the cap sheet hell that this would induce for a Spurs team that has historically valued its flexibility and has spent years and years and years diligently building that flexibility and the assets to even pull off a maneuver like this, right? Giannis has 2 years before his player option in 2027-28, which would if he takes that option, it'll be $62 million. That is the year that Wemby's new Supermax contract would kick in. So, if you're making the move for Giannis, you are saying, we need to win a title in these next 2 years. And then if you don't, you've wasted assets to go down this path. And if you do, you no longer have the assets or flexibility to continue going down this path. So don't you think that this bill is a little bit short-sighted for an organization that is trying to prioritize building around Victor Wembanyama for the foreseeable future into the next 10 years?
Fellas, let me tell you something here real quick. We have not had a repeated NBA champion since the 2017-2018 Golden State Warriors. Since then, it's been the Toronto Raptors, the Lakers, the Bucks, Golden State Warriors, the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics, and this season we're going to have another one. Fellas, how long is a window in this league anymore to capitalize on winning a championship?
When you have Wemby, it's open. It should be open a long time. It can be open a long time if you manage your assets well, but this is irresponsible.
Tom,
Where is
with
the money
Wemby.
coming from? You're doing all this wishy-washy and jilly-jabbing. Where is the money coming from?
How do we get out of this cap sheet hell? Explain. Is De'Aaron Fox going away? Who's going to fill out the rest of the rotation?
We're not getting rid of
I got
De'Aaron
questions.
Fox. We're probably getting Markelle Fultz, maybe Ben Simmons, people that I know I made fun of earlier on this podcast. But we're going to look for cheap guys that are desperate to stay in the league, as well as vets. We'll probably drag out the corpse of Nicola Batum at that point to keep things within cap sheet hell. Now, some might be saying, oh, AB, is this what the Phoenix Suns just did? Yes. Why would it work? Because it would be with Wemby and Giannis and De'Aaron Fox. These are all players that have complementary pieces to themselves, not redundancies like KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker.
You brought up the Suns there, and before we came out here, I was doing some backroom discussions with Mr. Montana, and he raised sort of an amendment uh to this. Instead of Giannis and instead of the second pick, would you potentially be more interested in Kevin Durant for maybe less?
Uh, like Brian Wright, I have a phone and I listen. I'm listening. But Zach, I'm gonna put a question towards you on this. Where would the money come from with KD with a 50 plus mil contract that he currently has? 10 mil cheaper than Giannis Antetokounmpo over the next 2 years. Go off, King.
Look, you're doing sports crossovers with your Herm Edwards. I think they went on and lost that game. They didn't win a game the rest of the season. They were really bad. So whatever, whoopty wah, like hoopty hoo, whatever. Let me get you some real stuff over here. I look to the old Philadelphia Eagles. Hate them, but Jalen Hurts was on a rookie deal, and they built a great team around him for the short term, expecting to have to pay him long term, and whereas Jalen Hurts isn't anywhere in the same stratosphere as when we can use the contract situation sort of similar and say, hey, look, knowing that Kevin Durant only has 2 years left on his contract, unlike the player option that Giannis would be dumb not to pick up. It's $62 million. Like he can't get more. It's gonna be a cheaper contract. So he's gonna pick it up. So at the 2 year mark, you don't have to repay. You can just say, hey, Kevin, it went great. We won a championship. If you want to stay, we can restructure the contract and make it work. Whereas with Giannis, there is no restructuring if you do well. You're trapped into it, and you're almost caught in this, you got to keep paying him as he gets older. Whereas Kevin Durant, you can justify by saying, dude, you're 40. We're not going to give you that money right now. And I think that's where the money makes sense to me. Is like we're looking at a very short term of like, we know the window's over. Whereas with Giannis, it's scary because even if the window is close and we're getting close, there's still a justification to pay him crazy money when he's 35, 36, 38. Not to say he's not going to be the same player. That's just scary to do. Whereas, like, with Kevin Durant, the contract's over. You're not locked into some long-term deal. And you're very, like, freeing after 2 years by saying, you want to stick around? We want you to stick around. We'll find a way to make it work. Wimby's getting paid. You and Wimby always like playing together for winning. Like, we're going to make this work. That's my argument to that.
Now, I do want to ask you I think my last question is, what do you think is the likelihood that if we signed this bill, if we voted to pass this bill, it would be signed into law by the front office?
Which one?
Miss Blackwood. The initial proposal to trade the second pick and other stuff for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Or give it like a probability.
Give a probability with a caveat. This only truly has a probability of happening if Giannis asks out. We have not seen him use any of his player leverage towards them. If he asks out, I'd give it a 50% shot.
Okay. Ambitious. Have you seen amendments proposed to instead of trading the second overall pick, because of the previously discussed positional overlap between Harper and reigning Rookie of the Year Steph Castle, there are some constituents who prefer Harper over Castle. have you seen those proposals to instead make Stefan Castle part of a trade package? And what do you think that effect would have on the locker room?
So hard pass on that one. Hard pass. Um, to Stefan Castle last season had I think there could be some comparisons between himself and Jeremy Sohan of basically being told you are a jack of all trades for this team. When we need you to start, you're starting. When you're in the game to close out the game, you're closing out the game. Hey, your shot's not on, you're not closing out the game. Some days you're playing backup. Um, Stefan Castle was probably put through the ringer more than he was ready for, than he was probably anticipating. I shouldn't say ready for because he won Rookie of the Year. Um, so there is a part of it where when I think about this organization and its value of relationships, I can't imagine that they would do that.
Okay. Any further questions for the gentleman from San Antonio?
No.
All right. I move to table. I see eyes. Okay. I have a proposal for a bill, and this is, I'll be straight up. This is a hear me out, you know, and this is another like conditional one, right? Uh, because Dylan Harper is a super desirable pick for all of the reasons that we've already discussed. We don't know when the Spurs will get a chance to take a swing like this. He's a guy who draws comps to James Harden and Cade Cunningham, LaMelo Ball. You know, like just a really. He had one sequence that reminded me of Ginobili with block, transition, the smooth, the change of directions. He's great, great player. However, given the positional stuff that we've already talked about, it is entirely possible that other teams are higher on Dylan Harper than the Spurs may, which is why they may consider trading down in this draft if they're not in love with Dylan Harper and really have their eye on somebody else and get a Godfather offer. So, to be clear, if this is something that the Spurs are even considering, they should absolutely simply convey that they're going to do the obvious thing and select Dylan Harper. And if you want him, you're going to have to pay out the nose for him, right? Because this is a leveraged position that the Spurs have. And we've seen over the years, they've done a very good job of creating these leveraged positions for themselves, where it would be, potentially a situation where they have multiple suitors. You look down the draft order, the 76ers at 3, the Hornets at 4, Jazz at 5, the Wizards at 6. Those are all teams that could really, really, really use a guy like Dylan Harper, right? Kind of potential franchise cornerstone. So, could a bidding war produce a Godfather offer? And could the Spurs potentially multiply the value of this pick if and only if they truly believe that another player is a better fit, better potential?
Tom,
Maybe they're higher on Ace Bailey. Maybe they're
Tom,
higher on VJ Edcomer or Trey Johnson.
do you remember probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago? It was a day that did not live long in internet infamy by any means, but the Detroit Pistons were pretty bad. And they got this guy, Cade Cunningham, on their team. He's pretty good. And he's big. I've actually stood next to him. He's huge. And
Massive.
and during this internet day, there was speculation that for whatever reason, Cade Cunningham, maybe he wouldn't sign his rookie extension. He did. And maybe he wouldn't, or he's going to. And maybe if he didn't do that, he would be interested in getting himself paired with one Victor Wembanyama. And this was like a very small talking point. But I remember letting my imagination run wild with the idea of Cade Cunningham and Victor Wembanyama. If Dylan Harper is everything that people believe him to be, that one small day on the internet becomes a reality with who the potential of Dylan Harper is supposed to be. To Doc's point, D Wade measurables, better handled than D Wade, looks like already based on film that I've seen. And how is this guy not going to make it his mission to show up on the Spurs if he ever gets traded, that pick gets traded and he gets taken at number 2 somewhere else? We saw last year, John Morant, just for fun, wanted to dunk on Victor Wembanyama. I can only imagine that Dylan Harper would make it his life's mission every time he's in San Antonio to do the same.
I'm sure. Was there a question in there? You were kind of.
No, I'm just rebutting. That's no question.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Just talking smack. No, but I understand. I hear all of that. Right. But what I'm saying is, this is an if then, right? And we know that the Spurs do
Here's the question.
Oh, you got more. Okay. Yeah.
What is the Godfather offer outside of
It's got to be
Giannis?
something
Outside
ridiculous.
of Giannis,
It's got to be something ridiculous. And the only thing that I think would really make sense, if it's not for a star player, is for, like, something where they trade down a spot or 2 or 3 and get their guy, their own super secret, basketball geniuses decide is actually the better course of action for our franchise, and then got multiple future first round picks, unprotected, and assets, right? Because look, we know that the Spurs can do their own thing, right? The Spurs can buck the consensus. The Spurs can take a player that people didn't expect, like Luka Šamanić or Josh Primo. And I realized, saying that out loud, that they probably should have just gone with the consensus on those picks. It didn't work out, right? But I'm saying, like, this is a team that is known to do their own thing, and they may say, look, we've got De'Aaron Fox, we're investing heavily in him, right? We've got Steph Castle, we're investing heavily in him. If Dylan Harper is going to be maximized, it's as a primary ball handler. And, like, there are other teams that would give up a lot of assets to make him be their cornerstone, whereas the Spurs are fortunate enough to be in a situation where they don't need a cornerstone. They don't even need a young star point guard or a seasoned all-star point guard. They are in a position where this second pick and Dylan Harper could be considered expendable if they're not in love with it. So that's, I understand that he's a blue chip talent, and everything I've heard and read about him has been that he's an upstanding young man who's very mature and responsible and good at the shooty hoops, and, like, anything less than a ridiculous return would be unacceptable. But, like, it's a possibility that this could happen.
well, okay.
So,
Well, let's make some votes on this first one then.
sure. Should we start with this one, the trade down possibility? Do we have any ayes? I'm seeing 3 no's. Yeah, no, you guys were
Nay.
successfully able to talk me out of this one.
The only
which
way, because I didn't get to try. The only way is you trade with the team that will be ass next year, that he's not going to make it too much of a difference on, and you, as you said, you make next year's pick unprotected. and you really like put the onus on them and saying like, okay, and or you take their pick this year and next year's pick is unprotected. Because I mean, I think that's because like if, for instance, if it's like Brooklyn and they get him and it's not really, they're not changing too much trajectory of the team. Like they're still gonna be pretty mediocre. It's gonna be a lot of learning young team. So like you're still gonna next year you might get the number one pick again or whatever. So like there has to be some sort of like you got to fill my pockets up on this one. That's my only take on it.
Yeah. So we'll say Dane, go nay on that one. What's the next one, Todd, that we're voting on?
Let's call a vote on the Giannis trade. Or yeah, we'll just keep it at the Giannis trade. Do we have any eyes on that? I'm seeing no eyes. I'm a nay on this one. You guys?
I'm actually a nay on this, despite my
Talked him
argument.
out of it. I said, "Where's the money?"
We cyberbullied you successfully on one.
I feel like a better person because of being cyberbullied. Yes.
It's important. It builds character.
I'm worried about the money too. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just can't see a team that has worked this diligently to create all of this flexibility. Because you mentioned it, right? It's we're in an age of parity right now. It's hard to build a dynasty. It's hard to build something last. And the Spurs are in a very, very, very unique position to be able to do that in an era where other teams really struggle to. And so I think that that is the main priority. So with that, how do we feel about drafting Dylan Harper with the second overall pick? I'm an eye on this one, guys.
I figure it out. Figure it out. That's what I say. Get the talent in the door.
Figure it out.
The other thing I'll say to this, I mean, look at the OKC Thunder right now. It took them a long time to get where they're at, and they're looking like a perennial contender. And they got some lottery guys. They got some lottery luck on their team. They still have asset war chest for themselves. And they don't even have like, I mean, they have like their three guys in SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet. But we still don't even know if like Jalen Williams or Chet is actually a superstar. It's still a team that's led by one person, other tiers, and they're able to fill in the gaps with other folks like an Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein. So once again, they're really the model franchise right now in team building for themselves, and they're deep. I think we talked about this on the live stream. You got to be deep to get through these playoffs. Pacers, also deep team. They're able to run out there. So I think the thing that we got to ask ourselves when evaluating where the Spurs currently are at versus who's making these deep playoff runs, do we have 8 guys right now? And can Dylan Harper be one of those 8 guys, to Zach's point earlier, on a rookie contract? That's probably the question I assume the Spurs are asking themselves as well in regards to him in this pick.
And I think the answer is yes. I think we have agreement and a pass bill. So gavel bang, 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 bang. It goes to Pop and the front office for their signature. We eagerly await their final decision, which will be revealed on draft night.
Yes, Mr. Wright. The legislation should be coming across your desk in the morning. Yes. Yes. Tom, Zach, and I came to an agreement on it. Yep. Oh, she's doing great. Thank you. Yeah. And in yours? Oh, that's great to hear. You had a great Memorial Day weekend? Hey, I'm recording a podcast right now, but Mr. Wright, thank you for listening to us. Really appreciate it. Go Spurs, go, of course. And we'll talk to you later. We got another one to do. Okay, thanks. Okay.
Leave that.
The call's in.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, with that handled, shall we go to a dozen spots down the draft order to 14? Thank you, Atlanta Hawks. Try to stink harder next year, please.
We'll do it again another
But
year,
14,
and a year after that.
Still a lottery pick. Still a solid opportunity for the Spurs to draft a player or use it in a trade or do something else with it. We saw last year when they had 2 lottery picks, 4 and 8. They took their guy with the 4th pick, and then the 8th pick they traded for 2 future first-round picks. So, fellas, do we have any bill suggestions for what the Spurs should do with the 14th pick this year? Gentleman from Corpus is recommended.
Thank you. Fellas, the 14th pick is a very interesting spot in this draft. To Zach's point earlier, can it be a crapshoot? Absolutely. Can this also be a place where we address a need while also developing talent? Absolutely. And I will tell y'all, with the 14th pick in a draft such as this, that is deep on bigs, we should look at getting a big here at 14 and have them as the backup center. You keep them cheap, you keep them developed. They probably turn into maybe something of like a Marcin Gortat, where they work under the development of San Antonio. They're probably going to get a bigger contract and free agency down the line, but they can contribute in a small capacity right out the gate. All they need to do in essentially 10 to 12 minutes a game when you're giving Wemby some breathing room. And this is just during the regular season. We're probably talking you're playing 8 minutes in the playoffs. Just stand there and whack people. You're going to have 6 fouls. Whack them. Play whack-a-mole. That's all we care about. Rasheer Fleming, great. Go after it, man. Danny Wolf, little 7-footer out of Michigan that can also stretch and shoot threes. Okay, we're not really even changing anything on the offensive end, really. Draft at 14. What I will say is if we do this, if we take 14, this becomes very interesting for our Blake Wesleys, our Charles Bassies, our Malachi Branhams that are still on the younger end of the spectrum of what do we actually do, because I don't think the Spurs are going to want to be that young with 2 rookies in the door in this class. So what I would imagine ends up happening is that this is going to start reshaping some of the back end bench unit, if not the front end bench unit. But as we talked about during the season, Julian Champagnie, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson were a pretty solid backup bench unit out the gate. So I say draft at 14, look for a big. Yes.
Question, will the gentleman yield?
Yes.
So, you mentioned probably not wanting to be too young. And I understand the point you raised with the bench unit was already pretty good. You know, they should be able to handle a, rookie developing, alongside them. However, as we saw down the stretch of last season, backup center very important actually. And really just all of last season. I mean, how many times did we say backup center on this show? And, I'm a fan of taking something that is a sore spot and turn it into something that is a strong point. And I think that whoever you draft at 14, there are going to be holes in their game. They're going to be raw. And I'm not sure that the Spurs can afford to do that if they do, already have a second-year player and a rookie playing significant minutes alongside. I think that maybe a little bit of veteran leadership at that position might be preferable. Do you have concerns on this?
Me?
Yeah.
Or Zach? Look, I think everybody that's going to play backup big is going to have concerns in their game. It's just a matter of whether or not you believe in the development coaches of this team to develop that raw talent, or go get someone that probably you essentially know. The other thing, though, is the free agency class that we're looking at. Let's just look at centers coming up. All right. Christian Coloco, Micah Potter, Jesse Edwards, Brandon Carlson, Bismack Biyombo, Isaac Jones, Alex Len, Quentin Post. Ooh, my boy Paul Reed.
People.
Charles Bassey, Sandro Mamakhelishvili. They're listing Santi Aldama as a center here. Interesting. My point is that there are a lot of teams out in this league right now that are going to need backup center. Another one of them is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers that believe that, and they will market themselves as closer to a championship window than the San Antonio Spurs. There are other teams out there that maybe just don't want to play in San Antonio, want to go to a place where they feel like they're going to get more run. So I think for the controlled aspect of that, being able to then go out in free agency and spend a little bit more on 3-and-D, like wing players, let's get someone that is a little taller than 6'8", young and long in San Antonio. Yes, Zach.
You're mentioning money. You're mentioning a backup big. All those names you mentioned, you can get them for a league minimum. Easy, cheap, no big deal. Easy squeezy, lemon peasy. Come get your money. When you get a 14th pick, my point being is when you get a 14th pick, you're paying him a little bit more money than the league minimum. It's $3 million, $4 million, $4 million, and $6 million over the course of their contract. Do you think that you could get more value from the 14th pick by getting a vet and using a few league minimum spots on the bench on a big, that because Wemby's gonna be getting the minutes?
Looking here. Ooh. Orion Prince, no thank you. Okay.
San Antonio boy.
Laravia. That's an interesting one. Do we bring back Trey Lyles?
Oh no.
No. Chris Boucher. That's an interesting one name. More just a name and name. So I think, look, it's either way of essentially who's having those conversations. Once again, though, my point is that this draft is deep in backup bigs. So I feel like there is going to be a lot of there's going to be, to Tom's point earlier about like the Spurs will choose who they want to choose. Find it. If it's Wemby's best friend, Maxime Radon, who is shooting up draft boards, there's that. Hanson Yang turned heads at the combine with some of his shooting and passing ability. So more of my argument to this and keeping the pick is to use it on a backup big rather than a 3-and-D player like Carter Bryant, who I do like, kind of screams like a Houston Rockets player to me. And I mean that as a compliment, and that he's long, athletic, fast, puts him a little bit more defensive discipline in him. He's probably going to be tight. Like he's going to be like a serviceable player. But those are, I believe, positions that like are redundant throughout the league, where we need like a solid backup big and like a deep class for that. I kind of would keep the pick for that. So there's my argument on that. Want to go to next proposal?
Sure. I'll raise mine here. I'm going to again advocate for the least sexy policy position possible, but hey, the world is built on those. The most fiscally responsible, the most assetly responsible way to go about doing this 14th pick is seeing who comes along offering, multiple assets in the future for when the Spurs are, 8 years into the Wemby experience and, not getting high draft picks of their own or using draft picks to trade for players to build around this core that they are building. and fill it out. Um, Maximize flexibility. Kick the can. See if you can get two firsts for this first. Um, if there's a play you love available on the board at 14, I think probably take him. But this is a much more fluid one where like the second pick, I think you got to take the second best. You take the best player available. The 14th pick is not as fraught with expectations and politics, and so you could kick the can, do the unsexy thing, do the fiscally responsible thing, and you know, people will be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I'd imagine though that you're probably not getting two first for the 14th. I assume you'd be getting like a first and a second in the future of some sort.
Yeah, that's
Like
probably fair. Or a
in
first
second
and
round,
maybe a swap.
yeah, and like second round picks, like they are for filler for, larger deals down the line. Um, so yeah, I don't think anybody should go and research online like who has what round picks. It's kind of insane. So um yeah, that'd be just like my only rebuttal to trading it. Um could very well be a Rob Dillingham situation from last year.
Right. Okay.
I got no
Move the
oppose,
table.
nothing to oppose. No argument on my end.
All right. Zach, do you have any proposals to bring?
You trade the 14th pick and you package it with something down the line that you own, and knowing that you're going to be a good team, and knowing that first round picks later down the line won't really matter because you're going to have a great basketball team. You can miss out on a year. You can trade somebody and get a pick back. There's always opportunities to get a first round pick back. I don't think that's been an issue for any team. Look at Phoenix. They traded all their first round picks. They still have some first round picks now because they traded some other players and got them back from other teams. So I mean, just because you don't own the pick doesn't mean you're not going to have first round picks. I think this is a great opportunity to package to say, hey, look, you're going to get a 14th pick. It's not a what if. It's going to be in the first round. You know what it is. A team can look at it and say, okay, we're going to get something in return right away that we like to fit our team. I think this is a good opportunity to maybe package a 3-team deal with this whole Kevin Durant thing and trying to find other suitors. I don't think it's going to be a straight up 2-team trade if it were to happen. I think there'll be a lot of picks going a lot of directions. But I think the 14th pick being able to see the 14th pick, being able to know that it's going to be on your roster within the year, definitely helps teams. I guess mentally, like, hey, we can our fan base isn't going to be like, oh, they traded in for some long term thing. That it's like at least short term they're going to be happy with what's going to be the return with the pick. But the Spurs can be aggressive with it, knowing that we had the second pick, we have 2026 swap pick with Atlanta, we have the 2027. We own Atlanta's pick in 2027. I think over the next 2 years you can be aggressive. You could be aggressive with your own pick in 2027. Give it away, knowing that like you still have Atlanta's own pick in 2027. You'll be drafting no matter what. So there's just a lot of opportunity to use that 14th pick to go and be aggressive with it and to send it out somewhere, package it to get a big name. I don't think you use 2. I think you use 14. Yes, Tom.
Question for the gentleman from San Antonio. As this body has already deliberated and voted on, we're unanimous about bringing in Dylan Harper as the second overall pick, and we've already talked a bit about the, positional stuff, you know, the minutes and the touches and the, ball's got to move around and everybody's got to have some, right? So, how would spending some of these assets to bring in another, high level? We're talking about Kevin Durant, like that's obviously going to one require outgoing salary, two probably require some core players leaving the team, guys who are on good contracts, guys who are seen by the franchises as very good complementary role players. on this squad. So what does the starting lineup look like then if they go for a guy like Kevin Durant or know, somebody who would warrant a starting spot?
You can play Kevin Durant at the 4. You can play Kevin Durant at the 5. You can play Kevin Durant at the 3. Obviously, he's not going to play the 5 because Wemby's here. So I think that limits you to your 4 and 3 position. The Spurs have a lot of young assets and and not to say that I'm going to single out a specific person because I've never been that person on this podcast to like this person needs to be traded or I want to see that person gone. I think just in general, the Spurs have a lot of assets, a lot of teams that you said it, team friendly contracts that other teams would probably like to be involved with, that are easy to move, that are not killers on your salary cap.
I feel like this is
have
filibustering. The gentleman asked a question of what
Mm.
the starting lineup looks like.
It was a bit circuitous. It was a very political answer, and it was a very Zach answer.
We're talking
what is
politics.
it?
We're in legislation right now. I'm going to politic my way around this.
Hey, brother, you asked about the money earlier, and you're talking about it. This is a money conversation. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. Devin Vassell is probably gone. That's 27 mil.
That's fair.
You're bringing in about 52, 54 mil for Kevin Durant. Like that's probably off the books right there.
And I think
Barnes,
the other two players
Harrison
that are
Barnes
gone,
almost certainly has to go.
I think it would probably be Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and then your two other players on their rookie deals, Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham, because that adds up to about $8 million a year on top of the 12 million that I have it right here. When does Harrison Barnes get paid?
Okay, so we've done that first. So what does the starting lineup look like?
Starting line day one would be De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Keldon Johnson moves back to the starting lineup. Maybe.
Whoa,
you need a shooter out there. You need a
What?
shooter out there. You need a shooter.
Oh, what the fuck?
Julian Champagnie. I'm just talking. It'll be a spaced out lineup, so Julian Champagnie might be out there, along with Kevin Durant and Wemby. So you have 3 shooters and 2 initiators with the ball. I think that's the ideal way to go about it. You have to have shooters on the floor. Have to with Wemby. I think Wemby creates his own space. Kevin Durant creates his own space on the side of the floor.
Order.
Julian Champagnie, you put him in the corner and you let the 2 ball handlers go to work.
Damn, I did not know you were
order.
cooking that up. That's crazy.
Hey, you wanted the answer. I gave you the answer.
Question 1, whose man is this?
Nice.
Is he cooking though?
You gotta have space with Wemby, dude. And like if you could have 2 De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle initiating the offense, Wemby, Kevin Durant on one side of each side of the floor, you can't double them. Good fucking luck bringing the second guy. And have wherever the weak side is, have Julian Champagnie sitting there because you know they're sliding from the weak side like any other defense in this NBA. That's what they do.
So I like the argument of Julian Champagnie there more than Keldon Johnson. I will give you that, and I understand the logic about creating space with that. So, and you got Harper coming off the bench.
Harper coming off the bench with Keldon Johnson, and then you're gonna have you re-sign Mamu. You re-sign these guys that are really familiar with what's going on, and you know aren't going to be expensive to what you're going to be actually because it is going to be cost. It is going to be expensive here coming up. You re-sign Bassie. You re-sign Mamu. You kind of get these guys back in the flow for the $2 million that you gotta have to pay them. Like it's not going to be some expensive bill, and they're going to want to be here. Like it's not like you're bringing some new. These guys are established. They're in this culture, so they're very comfortable coming back and being like, "Yeah, I'll take a pay cut, knowing we're gonna be fucking badass." You kidding me?
I have a we were talking about the outgoing package. I got on the phone with some Celtics guys because the Spurs were reportedly interested in some pieces that might fall off of that wagon in the wake of Jason Tatum. What about a flyer on Kristaps Porzingis if he can breathe? as a backup center, 1 year.
Yeah, that's a hard. That's a
No,
hard. That's a
no,
hard.
no,
He's gonna break
no.
his thumb on the. He's gonna break his thumb on the table.
Tom,
Looks like we
anyone,
don't have the votes.
you can put any name here and then say if he can breathe, and it's a no for me, dog. Okay. maybe, maybe we don't have a parentheses of if he can breathe, and then we'll evaluate the situation. But he couldn't breathe in the playoffs. No.
Definitely bad. That's definitely bad. I'm
Yeah,
not
that
saying
was
it's
that
not
was
bad.
weird. That was
Well,
very
Again,
weird.
we have a
If we
quorum
can
here. Breathing is good. Not breathing is
Yeah.
bad. A baseline has been set.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's definitely important. That's why I led with that. All right, so but we don't have the votes for that. That's fine. Let's see. Do we have the votes for trade the 14th pick for a role player? Who think or for another player? Who do we think we should do this? Do we have the eyes? Zach is an eye.
This guy.
I think
This
I'm
guy.
I think I'm a nay on this one. I think I'm a nay on this one. I see.
I'm a nay.
uh,
I'm a nay. I do
yeah.
I do believe in the depth of the bigs for what we can do with it. And yeah, I'm gonna be a nay.
And this is fun
Y'all
because
suck.
you've spent a lot of this season, Aaron, saying there's no way that the Spurs take two guys in the.
That is
in the
true.
first
That
round
is
this year,
true.
right?
I should have used
We
that
all
as
have been
argument.
saying that.
That is
We all have been
true.
saying that, but now that we're here and they have the second pick,
Mm.
okay, I don't know.
I'll
No,
talk.
no, you're correct. I've just changed my mind on it, and part of it is thinking a little bit about like last year, and Zach said this actually at the beginning of last season, was that we are a very small team. Where's some place to at least find some cheap, wing to big depth? When Wemby went out, no one on the team was taller than 6'8". Like literally, let's go find someone that is at least 6'9", like here in this draft. Like
All right,
but like
should we vote? Should we vote on that selected big with the 14th pick?
I'm a yay.
I'm an eye on that one. You've swayed me. I came into this one thinking kick the can was the best way to do it, but it would probably be a marginal return at best, and it's something that could be used to address a position of. So, yeah, I'm with the gentleman from Corpus on this one.
Zach?
I think he'd use the 38th pick to get a big. I don't think he used that 14.
And we'll see that 38th pick in Austin.
Yeah, there you go. We'll interview him just for y'all.
All right. Well, so it looks like we are sending two bills to the Spurs front office, and they both involve selecting a player in this draft. This is good, guys. This is a good exercise. I actually like this 14th pick one. I like. I my thinking evolved as we talked. It's really good.
I've been thinking, I've genuinely been thinking about that. And in this exercise, I kind of took on the Giannis thing because I wanted like the challenge of that more so. Like, I don't believe that. And I agree. I think it changes. It's a window too soon at the moment anyway. But the 14th pick and the depth of that, of this draft with like what is there is really intriguing. But like I said, I think it does signal to the team of like whatever they're doing with like Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley, so kind of my question that I've been asking myself in that evaluation is like next year, the expectation from ourselves is if you roll out the ball with a healthy Wemby and De'Aaron Fox, you're making the playoffs in the West. Like that is the expectation. Who amongst this, 12-man, 15-man roster across the regular season is going to be legitimately contributing to that? We have some answers between Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham, and we did finally have answers with Charles Bassey, this last season. So looking for that contribution throughout the season. At this point, I'm kind of more willing to take a shot on someone in this draft.
All right, cool. Sounds good to me. That'll end the deliberations for today. Um, I'm sure we'll talk about this a bit more before the draft. Uh, and we will obviously be keeping an eye on stuff. Uh, Thank you everybody for listening to this show and supporting this show. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Um,
Man, this was so much
Tell
fun.
Governor,
I love debating.
dude, I love this. We got to make you know more regular sessions of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour legislative sessions. And yeah, write Governor Abbott and ask him to veto SB3, please. It's a real bad one. So yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. Anything else, fellas, before we head out?
Call me 2 Chainz for the rest of the week. Thank you.
Hey,
Call Zach 2 Chainz.
True.
Man, keep watching this space. Yeah, to Tom's point, also rate, review, comment. We love to see those as well. And we'll be back at some point, but we got summer plans and stuff like that. So keep your eye on this space. We're working on things in the background more so. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.